Welcome. Today we are exploring a phenomenon of horror cinema that has transcended the Slayer genre. Jason Voorhees, a universal archetype of punishment and retribution. Jason's story is not a mere sequence of killings, but a complex narrative that blends childhood tragedy, maternal fury, and dark magic. This analysis details the character's origin and traces his canonical metamorphosis, from a vengeable human figure to a supernatural, almost indestructible entity. Prolegomena of tragedy, before the mask. The foundation of Jason Voorhees' myth begins with tragedy at Camp Crystal Lake, an epicenter of evil and negligence. Jason Voorhees was born on June 13, 1946. His childhood was marked by vulnerability. He was conceived as a child with special needs, and the production team chose to make him physically deformed as well, a crucial aesthetic decision by Tom Savini. This deformity served to visually justify his marginalization and ensuing ostracism. While his father, Elias Voorhees, rejected and abandoned him, his mother, Pamela Voorhees, developed a fierce love and protection toward him, established a fundamental archetypal bond. The catalytic event occurred in the summer of 1957. Pamela, who worked as a cook, left Jason under the care of irresponsible counselors. Due to their negligence, Jason drowned in the lake. This act of irresponsibility, driven by promiscuity, not only caused Jason's death but also established the franchise's moral engine. The reward for sexual transgression is violent death. Maternal fury and the catalyst. Devastated, Pamela went insane, believing she heard Jason's voice calling for vengeance. She assumed the role of primary killer, embarking on a mission to permanently shut down the camp. Pamela's figure is crucial because her death marked Jason's true ascension in 1918. During another attempt to reopen the camp, Pamela was decapitated by the sole survivor, Alice Harvey, using Pamela's own machete. This decapitation did not end the course. It served as the final sacrifice and catalyst for the return of Jason Voorhees. The central paradox is that Jason somehow turned from his watery grave and witnessed his mother's brutal decapitation. This event redirected his fury. Jason transformed into a large, powerful man, eternally devoted to avenging Pamela's murder. The Earthly Killer and the Iconic Mask. After Pamela's death, Jason emerged as a main antagonist, initially operating as flesh and blood killer driven by deeply human thirst for revenge. In Friday the 13th, Part 2, Jason returned as adult human, living in seclusion and wearing a burlap sack with a single eye hole. Known as the sack head, designed to hide his deformed face. This look established him as a rustic survivor and hillbilly killer. The most significant transformation occurred in Friday the 13th Part 3, 1982. The introduction of the iconic hockey mask was not motivated by the narrative but by a technical production need, as it worked better than the burlap sack for 3D filming. Jason acquired the mask by stealing it from one of his victims, Shelley. The hockey mask was painted to appear old and worn, instantly becoming the genre's iconic symbol. Its importance lies in its ability to depersonalize the killer. Jason transcended his identity as a marginalized individual and became an anonymous executor. an incorporeal agent of punishment at the camp. The supernatural metamorphosis. Jason's face as a human killer supposedly ended in part 4, where he was killed by a young Tommy Jarvis. However, box office success demanded the resurrection of the character in a far more indestructible form. The turning point came in Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, 1986, when the canon abandoned the logic of the serial killer to embrace the supernatural. Jason is resurrected by lightning, an event that transformed him to a zombified creature. From this point onward, Jason becomes a figure of evil that always returns. This supernatural immortality comes with a decaying aesthetic. In later installments, his body appears severely decomposed, and he operates with a superhuman strength that defies biology. Jason Goes to Hell, 1993, introduced a mythological quality. Director Adam Marcus subtly included the Necronomicon, Ex Mortis, and the Kandarian Dagger, suggesting that Pamela may have used this book to resurrect her son, turning him into a deity. This ambiguity between reanimation by electricity, Frankenstein style, and demonic origin has kept the myth powerful. Reinvention and legacy. Jason's undeath nature allowed extreme variations to maintain tension in Jason X, 2002. For instance, Jason is cryogenically frozen and reconstructed through nanotechnology transformation into Uber Jason, taking the saga into a sci-fi horror territory. His cultural relevance was solidified with the crossover Freddy's vs. Jason 2003, cementing him as an integral part of the horror monster pantheon. Despite these variations, the 2009 reboot attempt to strip Jason of his supernatural elements, returning him to the idea of feral survivor. However, this effort to over-explain his origin as an earthly killer failed in reception, as audience had already accepted the myth of Jason as a supernatural and unstoppable force. Jason Voorhees is a monument to the concept of eternal retribution. His story chronicles the victimization of a disabled child transformed into an unstoppable fury by adult negligence. The figure endures because of the solidity of this foundational myth and the power of its imagery, the decapitation of Pamela and the resurrection of Jason, whether by lightning or by the magical of the Necronomicon, ensure that the curse of Crystal Lake is perpetual. Jason is not a man, he is an entity that personifies undying evil, an eternal punisher. The effectiveness of his horror lies in how his tragic foundation evokes sympathy. Yet his final manifestation is completely anonymous, unstoppable, and most